Anything you want to say, babes?
I just want to say thank you very much to everyone that's out there fighting for me. Team that's come together, and the support has been amazing. I've got a table full of rock stars here that are all working tirelessly around the clock fighting for this cause with me. And I just want all you guys out there across the world to know that I'm going to justify your effort, and I'm going to come back stronger and bigger and badder. And once I get back on my feet, we're going to justify all this. Make sure that all you guys' efforts don't go unnoticed. We're going to come together and have a huge, huge party.
Oh, sick now. Hell yeah. I know my dogs are watching. And if you ain't, I know you will be. And if you are watching and you're in my dog yet, you will be. Because I'm Steve and I'm here to help you get busy living. What's that? That's one epic adventure every single month for 55 months in a row. For me, we're 23 down, 32 to go. But for you, that's learning that it's a mindset that it takes to overcome adversity no matter what happens to you and move towards living a more purposeful life. And we are, ladies and gentlemen, in the midst of a 10-part series where things you should never take for granted in the mission of getting busy living. And this month, we got a banger for you. Number 3 is you should never take nature for granted. So we got a guest today that's going to blow your mind, talking about making your childhood dreams come true, serendipity, and how nature has impacted her life. But first, since nothing is worth having and if it ain't worth sharing, please help me welcome to the stage my dynamic co-hostess out of Los Angeles, D-Rex.
Hello, my friend, and hello to our friends. Once again, I see some of you are already here. I'm so happy to be here myself. This is a subject that is so important. And I mean, I don't need to tell you that. Anybody who's ever seen any video about trash in the ocean knows it's a real problem. And sometimes all you can do is sit there and think, well, I can't do anything about it. So you just want to bury your head in the sand, no pun intended. But, you just kind of want to ignore it because it hurts to know that it's happening, but also that you feel like you don't have anything you can do about it. But our guest today has such wonderful things to say and also offers us a little hope. So I'm really interested in getting her on here.
Absolutely. And we've had our share of guests that have had a ton of adversity in life, and their stories are inspirational because they've been able to overcome the adversity. And we've had guests that have been extremely successful in life, and but I don't think we've had one quite like this, D-Rex, a guest that has actually, I'm going to let her tell you guys the story, but we're talking about a little girl that grew up to be what she wanted to be when she grew up. So that's amazing. What's up to my man? Scooty Wells is in the house. What's up, dog? If you are in the house, in the audience, please let us know you're here. Let us know in the comments. Speak up. Anytime we talk about anything that you're interested in, you have anything you want to share, by all means, put it in the comments. And just like we got Scooty Wells up here on the screen, we're going to bring your comments up too. We got to give some credit where it's due, though. Scooty Wells is the one that brought Lauren to my attention. So very excited about that. Yeah, thanks, Scott. Listen, thank you. In my time, every time we have a new guest, I always try to be thorough in my research, and try to be prepared. And I got to tell you, I've been inspired by just about every one of our guests, but researching this girl, I went down more rabbit holes than any of the other guests. I've learned so much about the planet. I've learned so much about her hero. I feel like I'm a better person just for the research I've already done. So without further ado, D-Rex, let's bring on Lauren.
Aha. Well, I wasn't quite ready to do that, but here we go.
There she is. What's up, girl?
Hello. Thank you. Wow, that was quite the introduction. I don't know if I can live up to it, but I'm very happy to be here and to talk about conservation and the planet. So thank you so much for having me.
Yes, no, thank you so much for being here. And if you want to say hello, we got Scooty Wells. Scott is in the comment section, so you're welcome to say hi to him and thank him for putting us together.
Yeah, hi, Scott. Thank you so much for the recommendation. It's an honor to be here, so I have you to thank for that. Hope you're doing well, and I miss you.
So, Lauren, you go by the title of marine debris-ologist, yes?
Yes, I do.
Is this something you can get a degree in, marine debris-ologist?
So it's a title I made up because I've been working in marine science for about a decade now. And during that time, I got my master's degree, all this stuff, but all of my research has really mostly been in marine debris, which is the fancy term for trash in the ocean. And I just kind of felt like this was a more suitable term because I consider myself an expert on trash and really not much else. Don't ask me about coral. Don't ask me about, crazy invertebrates, but trash I know very well.
Man, I also know trash. I've been taking out trash since I was a teenager. I'm just kidding. I've never dated any trashy women. They're all amazing.
Of course not.
No, but seriously, I like what we talked about earlier. We want to give the audience an idea, about your background and how you were able to, live out such a dream. I mean, literally, by every measure, you're living a dream. You have quite a lifestyle living in Hawaii, which everybody would agree is paradise. But wow, part of our motto for the show is I'm trying to help our audience develop a mindset where they can live a more purposeful, deliberate, and intentional life. And let's talk about purpose. Let's talk about deliberation and intent. I mean, wow, you are a walking model of all three of those words. So start from the beginning. I mean, where are you from and how'd you get there?
So I moved around a lot when I was a kid, but I initially grew up in a small little mountain town, Asheville, North Carolina, if anyone's ever heard of it. And I spent my early years there. And I actually kind of lived outside of that city and in the middle of the woods. And the community that I was raised in is one that really values conservation, the environment, living outside. And so I was raised that way. And definitely that was something that I just really loved and took to from an early age. My mom likes to joke that she exposed us to a lot of different stuff. And with kids, you just don't know what's going to stick. And for me, it was always the outdoors. It was always nature, always climbing trees and never wanted to be inside. So I would say that was like the first seed was just finding enjoyment and love of nature. And then being in a community that really valued conserving it was, huge for a little kid. And from there, I ended up actually, when I was like 10 years old, moving to a beach town in South Carolina. And it's one that is littered with a lot of trash. There's a lot of tourists that come in and not just tourists, there's locals too, but it's a beach. I don't even want to say the name because I don't want to throw it under the bus. Maybe everything is better now, but I was 10 years old. So that was 2 decades ago at this point. It was. And so that was kind of a stark transition for a kid going from pristine ecosystems to living on this beach that was trashed regularly. And so starting from that age, every day I would walk the beach and I'd clean up trash. It was something my mom and I did together for fun. And I don't think she realized that was going to turn into what it has for me. But I would say that one of the passion comes from several different things. And one is obviously love and enjoyment of something, which is for me, conservation, nature, all of that. And then passion also comes from things that make you angry. And seeing a littered beach made me angry. And so I wanted to take action on that. And thankfully was encouraged to do that. And and I just remember being like, this isn't enough. Me cleaning the beach every day it's not enough. And so I started doing a little bit of organizing friends and community members to do it with me. And it's also like people would see me picking up trash on the beach and they'd be like, oh, let me help you. And it'd just be random strangers jumping in, or somebody had just thrown a bottle on the ground and a little kid comes and picks it up and puts it in a trash can. Like that kind of stuff speaks volumes. So I got people involved. And like I said, it's crazy at this point, but it was like 20 years ago. And at that time, people weren't really talking about marine debris in this way. And that was something as a kid that was always discouraging, was like, why don't people care about this? And I was trying really hard to be the one to make people to care. But back then, just it was not a conversation. We didn't have a local Surfrider chapter or anyone that was doing this. So as small scale as you can imagine, I was just trying to do my own little community organization. And then it's a passion that's just stuck. And I have been doing it ever since, and somehow have made a career out of it.
We're going to get to that. You got another fan in the house. Louise wants to say hello.
Hi, Louise. Good to hear from you. Oh.
And then Scooty Wells is talking about just being up there, and it is. I've been in Nashville several times. It is a beautiful town. And as a matter of fact, the town that you're referring to that you don't want to throw under the bus was from our conversation, I know, was my very first glimpse at the ocean.
Wow. Yeah.
And it was when I was there, it was beautiful. Good timing, I suppose, or maybe, but I have a very powerful experience with ocean debris. The first winter that I spent in Bali, actually it's tropical there, so it wasn't winter, but I went to the beach for 2 weeks to want to take advantage of what Bali is known for, surfing, and you couldn't see the sand. Like at the same time of the year, every year, this island of garbage just flows up onto the shore, and after we decided to move forward with this, and I was doing some research, I found that the most polluted river on the planet is actually in Indonesia, not far from Bali. And so I was down a rabbit hole, like I was saying earlier. I've been down so many since I've started preparing for this show, and I just saw this YouTube video of a tourist at this town in Java, which is one of the islands in Indonesia. And it doesn't look like a river. It looks like a crawling trash heap. It doesn't look like trash in water. It just looks like trash on the ground that's moving. I was mind blown when I saw that. So yeah, wow. It's definitely something that is shocking when you see it in person. So I can imagine what it was like for a 10-year-old.
Yeah, definitely. And you really just kind of spoke to it. It is a global problem. And that is one of the things that makes it can seem daunting and overwhelming. Because we have seen time and time again that anytime you're trying to deal with something on a global level, it's very hard to get people to work together on that. With that being said, I will say in the really 20 years since this journey has started for me, the way that the conversation has changed around marine debris has been so inspiring, because like I said, when I was 10 years old, people weren't talking about it. People didn't care. And now there's a movement against it. Now people are trying to live plastic free. There's plastic free stores all over the place. We have several on our island. There's a lot more awareness around it. And depending on where you live, I'm very grateful where I live. One of the reasons I love about living here is that there is this huge awareness. And I think there's a big awareness here because there's so much connectedness to the ocean and to the land. And so in general, people in Hawaii tend to really care about this because it is kind of our backyard. And one of the things that always crossed my mind when I was picking up trash as a kid was what happens to it when it goes into the water. And I remember learning about this place that at the time I called Trash Island. And that's how I knew that's all I knew of it as, was Trash Island. And it was these islands in the middle of the Pacific Ocean that are covered in trash. And I remember specifically seeing a picture, I'm sure everyone has probably seen it now, of an albatross, a big giant seabird that was unfortunately dead and had a lot of plastic in its stomach. And I was like, that's where the plastic ends up. And I want to go there. And so I like to kind of joke that I followed the trash to Hawaii because unfortunately, if you walk the beaches here, especially where I live on the east side of Oahu, there's trash all over the place, but it's not the kind of trash that I was seeing in South Carolina. It's stuff that you can tell has been in the ocean for a really long time. And it's because these islands sit in the middle of the Pacific Ocean and in the middle of these two different gyres and converging currents that bring in debris from all over the world to the shorelines here. And yeah, so I came here to study my master's degree, which was all on plastic pollution, and I finally got the opportunity to make the voyage to Trash Island, which are the uninhabited northwestern Hawaiian Islands, north of where I'm living right now. The Hawaiian name is Papahanaumokuakea, and
that's a tongue twister.
Yeah. And it's actually encompasses an area with many different uninhabited islands that are considered like the ancestral Hawaiian Islands. So the ancient Hawaiian Islands that they're too small to live on because they're essentially like receding back into the ocean. And yeah, so I finally got to make the voyage up there. I've been up there multiple times now, and it truly is a place that is covered in trash from all over the world, everything you can imagine. And because there's no humans there, and it is one of the most remote places in the world, it's completely run by animals, which is great. The biodiversity, the wildlife that's there is absolutely stunning, but it's also one of the most polluted beaches, islands in the world. Yeah, so to be able to go up there and actually experience it, to me, felt like visiting, I don't know, like the Mecca of debris or something. So yeah, it's been.
Can I ask you about that? What sort of thing that you actually do when you're out in your work? Okay, suppose you're out at this trash island. What is then your job? Is it to take measurements, report? Like, what is your job?
Yes, thank you for asking. I actually really love talking about this. I am very lucky that I get to live. So that is actually our home base where we work on Oahu. I work for a nonprofit called Papahanaumokuakea Marine Debris Project. We're based in Kailua, Oahu. And it's kind of a mouthful, but we go by PMDP, Papahanaumokuakea Marine Debris Project, and we focus on large-scale marine debris removal. So what we'll do, and we're actually leaving August 3rd, and we're going to leave from Honolulu and make the trip all the way north. If you keep following that island chain north, it takes us like 3 to 4 days on a ship just to get up into the monument. So Papahanaumokuakea is a monument.
That's what I was trying to find here.
Yes.
Was the monument.
So if you type in like Midway Atoll, it'll pop up. It'll take you there.
So that was 4 or 5 days by ship?
By ship, yes. Depending on which of those islands on the chain you decide to go to. Yeah, so.
Oh, Midway Atoll. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, so that's the one I was just on last week.
So if we look at where Hawaii is, that is quite a ways.
Yeah.
You know, so we can zoom out and see, you know, Hawaii is almost in the center, right? And so this is down here is Big Island, and as you go up the chain there, so you're down here near just east of Honolulu, right? And then the monument is all the way up here.
Yeah, and it's all of those little tiny islands. All of that encompasses Papahanaumokuakea, and each island has its own name. So Midway Atoll is one of them. The Hawaiian name is Kauahelani, and that is the most famous island in the monument because one, Battle of Midway. If you're a World War II person, you've probably heard of that. Yeah, there it is. It's so beautiful. It has infrastructure on it because there used to be military base there. And those famous pictures of the albatross came from here. And so to me, this island in particular is what I always considered Trash Island. And it's a really special place. I got the opportunity, like I said, it's the only island that actually has infrastructure. So I got the opportunity to actually fly in on a little tiny jet and do some marine debris work for 2 weeks up there. And it was really lovely to just be able to live on this one island and do work. And it's this place that I dreamed of since I was a kid. So being there in real life is just always unbelievable.
Yeah, that sounds just amazing. So
I'm
is
trying
this?
to think. No, go ahead.
I was just going to ask. It looks like this eastern island here, and it might be small for anyone that's watching on their phone, but it looks like this Easter. You've got Eastern Island, and then you've got right here where obviously looks like a military establishment.
Yes.
And then is this like a sandbar that like protects it, or is?
Yeah.
So is that actually coming out of the ocean, or is that just a submerged sandbar?
That is a fringing reef. So, okay, just a little island biogeography for you really quick. Sure. That entire area that has that fringing reef is the atoll, and inside of it are the two islands. And basically, like way back millions of years ago, what we're looking at right here used to be where Big Island is now. And Big Island, as we all know, has lava flowing. So it's an island that's currently forming. But as the islands, eventually the volcanoes stop, the tectonic plates will shift and the islands move further northwest. And once they move off of that, the lava, essentially, they stop growing at that point and then slowly start falling back into the ocean. So if you were to really look at it, as you move north from Big Island up, the islands get smaller because they're slowly sinking back into the ocean. And so it's what we're seeing now with the atolls is like the top of the island, essentially. Most of it has sunk and it's just the last little bit that's left. And so, yeah, I mean, essentially like the island is mostly sunk back into the water and the reef is building up around it and creates this, circular looking fringing reef with just those two little islands in the middle now. So one day Honolulu will be underwater and will be where Midway is millions of years.
Oh, wow. So the way I understand it, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that there is the plates are moving over this. It's similar to what's going on at Yellowstone, right? You can see a similar kind of track if you track southwest of Yellowstone, although that's obviously land, but it's a thermal hotspot underneath the crust. And so right now where Big Island is where the crust is thinner there, right? So so does that mean that the plate is kind of like moving southwest, and that's why there's a trail of islands that goes north or southeast, and there's a trail of islands going northwest? Does that sound accurate?
Yeah. And there's actually even a hot spot southwest of Big Island, and there's a new island forming. I don't remember the name of it. It's forming, but it's still underwater. And so eventually it will emerge and essentially take Big Island or Hawaii Islands.
I don't know if you can see. I don't know if you can see my cursor.
Yeah.
It looks like. Isn't this amazing? Let's just take a step back and think about how amazing it is that we can look at the Earth, like half of this mountain. So this is the largest mountain on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
From base to tip, it's like 500 feet taller than Mount Everest, right? Something
I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I've got a funny story. So when I first went to Hawaii, my first time, I was over here in what is it, Kona, over here where the coffee is from? Yeah, Kona.
Yeah.
And my girl that I was with and I were having coffee there in the morning, and we told the barista that we were going to Volcanoes National Park, that we wanted to go see. There hadn't been lava flow in a long time at that point. But she's like, well, when you guys are going down there, you're going to go past South Point. So you should, you should go check it out. The locals say that it's the edge of the earth, or the edge of the world, because technically the Big Island, the South Point of Big Island, is the furthest point of land from any other landmass on Earth. It's like 2,500 miles to California, like even further to Australia, and to Japan, and then so like they call it the edge of the planet because look, it's like literally there's nothing close anywhere near it. So when I went down there, and we did the drive, it was a long dirt road. I mean, it was paved at first, but eventually it turned into a dirt road to go down here to South Point. And it's crazy. It's the widest horizon I've ever seen. Like you can stand there and turn your head all the way to the left and all the way to the right and not see any land. It's just ocean all around you. And we were like in the car walking towards the edge, and there was quite a few cars down there. And you can see a lot of people looking. But while we were at the coffee shop that morning, she's like, "Yeah, some of the locals actually jump off." And I was imagining like these guys with like grass skirts, like doing backflips off the side of the mountain, like into this lagoon. I had no idea what I was in for. So I was thinking, crazy locals, I would never do that. We get down there, and like as we're approaching the edge, this very average looking elderly guy. I was in my early 20s back then, so he probably is in his 30s or 40s. He looked over to me.
Elderly.
Edge, and somebody hands him a towel, and he's like, "Oh, the water is great." And I was like, "What?" I was like, "If this guy can jump off, I'm jumping off." And my girl was like, "No." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm doing it." I start walking back towards the car to get my trunks on. And she's like walking behind me, and she's like trying to talk me out of it. And I was like, why are you so trying so hard to talk me out of this? She said, "Because if you do it, then I'm gonna do it." And I love that. And I was like, "I'm doing that." I was like, "As a matter of fact, she's like, "That's great. That's great." She's like kind of copping at it. She's like, "Great." People were like, "Well, what happened to Sweden Lenko?" Or so what happened to them? "Oh, they must have just fell off the face of the earth." "No, they didn't fall. They jumped. This is gonna be great." She's like all upset about it. And then I was like, "Actually, you know what? If I'm going out today, I'm going out the way I came in." And I turned back around and started walking and started taking my clothes off. I was gonna jump in naked. And she's like, "Sweet." She's like, "That water's cold. Do you really want them pulling you out of that cold water butt naked?"
That's so did you jump naked?
No. I was like, "You're right. I probably should put some shorts on."
All right.
That's fun. So we jump off, and that was great. I actually ended up jumping off twice, and climbing back up that metal ladder, it's painful to your hands, and it's not easy. So I wasn't in for that. It's like a 50 or 60 foot fall, I think, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Anyway, so then we go to Volcanoes National Park, and then we just like explored the park, saw the lava. It's awesome. And then we went to the airport because we woke up. We got there very late because of that whole South Point thing, and the whole drive was amazing. We stopped at a lilikoi forest. We stopped at a macadamia forest. And she was just crazy about wanting to pick fruit off of trees in nature and be able to eat like nature. And so to be able to like eat macadamia nuts, which are extremely difficult to get out of the shells, and then to eat these lilikois, which is a really cool fruit, was an amazing experience. So anyway, the day took forever, and we thought we weren't really going to get a chance to do any more exploring once we did that. Well, we go to the airport the next morning and find out we were supposed to be flying to Kauai, and there was a storm, so we got stuck there. And while we were there, somebody at the airport told us this fact that this is the largest mountain on the planet. And so my girl looks at me and she's like, "We need to go up there." They told us that there's an observatory up there. There's a really famous observatory up there, right? Mm-hmm. So what they told us was a 4-wheel drive vehicle to drive up there. When we got to the point where there was like state national park personnel, and they were stopping anyone that didn't have 4-wheel drive vehicles from going any further. And we were under the impression that we had one, but they ended up renting us a vehicle that was not a 4-wheel drive. Oh. And like we spent about 30 seconds being heartbroken. And that girl is fearless. She's like, "We're going." She went out to the road and flagged down a vehicle that had 4-wheel drive and asked them to ride with them.
That's awesome.
We jump in, and there's this family that had their daughter with them, and she was going to school for astrology or astronomy.
Astronomy.
And so she was a student at the school and was going there to meet her professor. We got to go inside the telescope, inside the observatory with her.
Whoa.
Such a cool experience.
Of all the cars to flag down. Wow.
I know, right? That girl, I'll never forget that girl. She was blessed. That girl was an angel. Something about her is magical. But anyways, stuff like that always happened to us whenever I was with her. So while we were up there, we were telling them the story that we had jumped off of South Point the day before. And so the professor was like, technically, since this is the highest mountain on the planet, and since that is the edge of the world, if there is one, you guys went from the edge of the world to the top of the world in 24 hours.
There you go.
I've been telling that story since that day.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Cool. I'm like, have I done that before? I don't remember. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. very interesting day that day. But hey,
Yeah.
listen, now's a good time. I want to just stop and take a break. We have a cause here, Lauren, that we're fighting hard for, and I would just want to take a moment to bring that up and mention that we are doing um, what is it? We're doing a fundraising drive for my guy Schaefer, and Schaefer, we are doing a benefit for him August 24th in Erie, Pennsylvania from 2 to 6. Schaefer was born with cerebral palsy, and the Help Sweet Walk Again organization, which was the organization that saved my life, essentially. When I got injured, I was on my deathbed. I woke up 2 weeks later to find out that Scott Wells and several other of my friends in Bali came together, made my story go viral, and they rescued me by using a Facebook page that they named Help Swede Walk Again. So once I've become healthy enough, I turned that name into a nonprofit organization, and our mission is to try to bring stem cells to the population, because stem cells have an immaculate and amazing healing powers to heal what was formerly considered to be untreatable diseases, and cerebral palsy is one of them. So what we've done is we've got nominations.org, or nominations at the hswa.org is an email that you can send your story to if you know someone that you think could benefit from stem cells. So Schaefer was nominated via that method, and now they're doing a benefit for him in Erie, Pennsylvania on August 24th at Sacred Heart Church. So please, anyone that's in Erie or anyone that's going to be in the neighborhood around that time, please go to this benefit. I am doing my best to try to be there to help us raise money to try to get stem cell to have these, or to get Schaefer to have these stem cell treatments. And you can also go to the hswa.org, and we have the Life in the Years of Sweetisms book, which is a book that was thought of when I was actually still injured, that we were going to offer to those that were donating to my cause to give them some exchange. So if you go to the hswa.org and you order the Life in the Years of Sweetisms book, everyone that donates $50 or more is going to be entered into a raffle. And that raffle, if you win, you're going to go on an adventurous Alaska 7-day, 6-night tour guided by Scott Wells himself. And so basically the way it works, once we get 1,000 donations of $50 or more, we're going to pull the name out of the hat. Scott and the winner plus one are going to put together the most amazing epic adventure in Alaska, where you're going to do 2 nights of cabin camping, 2 seasonal excursions, and what time you're able to go up there is going to determine what type of excursions you can go on. But you can do anything. Obviously the Northern Lights is what everybody knows Hawaii for. So if you want to go up there during the Northern Lights, you're going to have to talk to Scott about when that would be. But you can do whale watching. You can do dog sledding. This is Louise. Scott took her fishing. This is actually one of our former guests, Brian, who has been swimming in glaciers up there. This is one of my favorite pictures of Scott. Has some amazing pictures, but these are all, this is Scooty Wells himself here looking at the glaciers. So yes, hswa.org, get yourself a copy of the book reserved. All the proceeds of this drive are going to go towards helping Schaefer get to Panama to get a life-changing stem cell treatment. So thank you very much for allowing me to take a moment to tell that part of our story. Now, what I want to get back to, Lauren, which I find so interesting. So we're doing a 10-part series about not taking things for granted. And that's something that we've broken down into 10 different categories. And the third category is nature. First was time. And we talked about knowing how to take advantage of your time and learning how to be leisurely, and music was our focus. The next episode was our friendships, and so Scott was our guest. And the third thing, and not that there's a hierarchy, but there is going to be somewhat of a flow, and now we're talking about nature. So in your own words, do you care to elaborate on why you think it's so important that we don't take nature for granted?
Yeah. So for me, I see nature, I like to think about it in terms of land and ocean and, tangible things. And I kind of see it all as a relationship that I hold with these things that we're so blessed to have. And, obviously the land, the sea gives us and always has given us food and clothing and our homes and everything we need to survive and thrive ultimately comes from the land in one way or another. And way back in the day, like pre-industrial revolution, all of that, there was definitely a stronger connection that I think people had to the land. People were actively farming, hunting. If we go back even further, it was hunters, gatherers, all of that. And there was so much connectedness to our food, to our resources, to all of the stuff. And as time has gone on, we've really disconnected in a lot of ways. For example, I don't know where my food that I've eaten today has come from. Like, I couldn't tell you where it was grown or how it got to my plate in any kind of way. But the fundamental is still there, that everything that we need to survive and thrive comes from nature. And I see it as, like I said, a relationship and something that if you take care of the land will take care of you. If you take care of the ocean will provide for you. And that can be interpreted or taken in a lot of different ways. One, the very tangible way of the resources we need to exist on the planet. But I think it also provides a lot more than just that. I think, talk about mental health for a second. There's this theory. Please. Yeah, there's this theory called the blue mind theory. And it states that spending time with the ocean is good for your mental health. And they've done a lot of research and data on that. But the main point of it is that the more time you spend around, it doesn't even have to be the ocean, but around water specifically, it's going to inevitably inundate you with serenity and peace and calmness. And these are all feelings that are associated with water. And I, as someone who's grown up in and on the water in every capacity you could possibly imagine, I have never, every time I've entered the ocean, I have left feeling more calm. Every time I've spent any time in water at all, I feel more calm. Every Sunday night, I take a bath and relax and use my Sunday nights as just a time to turn some candles on, soak in the bath, and I always come out feeling more relaxed.
Oh, no.
But I could just feel it in the air. Your Excellence, as huge a fan, and she has been the major influence in this podcast doing regular segments on nature. And D-Rex is a huge nature lover, but she might have a little bit of something else to say about the water. What do you think, D-Rex?
Oh, no, actually, I think that you'll be surprised what I have to say about this is that I believe that water is super important. It has that restorative nature for us because we're basically born in water. We're in a sack of water, and I think that anytime we get into water, it's a return to that. And my ideal day, like when people ask me, what's your ideal day? It always involves like swimming. Okay, then the hot tub, then I'm going to swim again. And that really is honestly my ideal day. And a bath, yes, it doesn't have to be the ocean. And I know what you're thinking because I always say, I don't want to go in the ocean. It's not my home. I don't belong there. Something's going to eat me.
when I was going through your Instagram, Lauren, there's that one picture of you where you're in the ocean. You're obviously in the deep, and there's a shark off in the distance. And yeah. I sent a picture to D-Rex. I was like, "How do you feel about this little deal here?"
I always feel like something's going to eat me in there because it's not meant for me. But you obviously seem a lot more at home in the ocean. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about what it's like to be way out there, away from everything, and in the ocean. Like, you don't feel like things are going to eat you. Why not?
I think a lot of, and I mean, obviously everyone's relationship with the ocean is going to be a little different, but my presumption is that for a lot of people, that fear comes from an unknown. You might not see a shark. It could be there. It could not be there. But the fear is like, is it or is it not? And I think the more time I have spent in it and I understand it better and have developed more of a relationship with the ocean, those fears have gone away. And a lot of it, honestly, putting a mask on your face and being able to actually see what's around you helps a lot. I'm a big diver. That's how I know Scott. We both became scuba instructors at the same time. So I love scuba diving, but I also have a huge passion for free diving, which is breath hold diving, using just mask, fin, snorkel. And that is a very regular practice in my life that I actually take very seriously. It's something that for me is very meditative and very peaceful. And I know that sounds kind of crazy because the whole concept is that you are not breathing for long periods of time. And that might sound stressful, but there's something about it that is extremely calming to me. And every time I go free diving, I come out in this, I call it like being blissed out. I just feel so zen and relaxed. And I'm like, I don't even know how to have conversations with anyone right now. I just want to sit here, and it's so deeply meditative. And I think it might just be time in the water and just spending more and more time learning these different animals, learning their behaviors. It helps strip down some of that fear. I'm also a surfer, and I will say the relationship I have with sharks when I'm diving and I can see them versus surfing and I don't know if they're there or not is different. And if I'm surfing and I get this intuitive feeling that it feels a little sharky right now, I never question it. And
It feels a little sharky.
I don't know how to explain it, but it's when you're surfing, sometimes you get these sharky feelings, and I have never questioned it. If I ever get that feeling, I just go in. Yeah, it's just, I don't know how to explain it, but if you're a surfer, you probably know what I'm talking about.
I want to take a minute to say what's up to Key Rod is in the house. And as we were talking about Hawaii, I apologize, I missed it. There's some pretty good comments going on here. Scott was talking about, first of all, when you were talking about the albatross, Scott's mentioning about how much debris he, became aware of once he started diving in Hawaii. And man, I don't know how much time you've spent with Scott to get to know this dude's story, but this dude is a world-class Earthman. Like, he is a mountain man to the degree. So the fact that he can go to the top of the Denali all the way to the depths of Hawaii, I mean, Scott's story is amazing. I mean, the movie is going to be about him one of these days. But he's like, can you say that? What is the name of that national park up there?
It's Papahanaumokuakea.
Want to give that a shot, D-Rex?
No.
So
yeah, no, I don't want to mangle it.
We were talking about okay, so the height of is it Mauna Koa? How do you say that?
Yeah.
Mauna Kea, yeah. Mm-hmm. Awesome. And then Louise, yeah, she's gonna do that jump, she says, gonna do that jump. And then Scott was just elaborating about the comments that you were making. So when we talk about taking nature for granted, and you're talking about water, and you're talking about this connection with Earth, as someone that just got done studying a lot of chemistry, knowing that water is the key to life. Water is that magic molecule that transfers energy, and all of us know that it's all about energy, right? Yeah. So water is that magic molecule that allows our bodies that allows life to happen, and we on this podcast have many times explored different topics that brought us back to this spiritual curiosity, and like exploring ideas about how when you believe something, it will happen. You got to believe is a part of our slogan. And you mentioned something, Lauren, talking about belief and about serendipity. And so I would just like for you to take a moment to tell us the story about what happened recently with you and your hometown.
Yes. So this picture that he's showing right now is me, and those two guys are friends of mine, but the woman in the middle is the most important person in this picture. And her name is Dr. Sylvia Earle. She is my childhood hero. In fact, I had a goldfish named after her when I was a kid.
My God.
And she was really like the first female underwater explorer, and not just female, one of the first underwater explorers in general. She's done deep water exploration, very passionate about the deep sea. She's an incredible diver. She's been diving since like the 60s, 70s, and was really just a glass shatterer for women in STEM, women in science, but especially marine science. And I was telling them this before the show started, but I'm 4'11", and when I met Sylvia Earle and I saw that she was also so small, but such a renowned, badass woman that has done incredible diving, has really pushed the limits in marine science and conservation in general. It was just really cool to meet her. But she, and the last part I'll say about her is that she has been a huge advocate for marine conservation her entire life. She's dedicated to it, and she has changed the landscape of marine conservation because of her lifelong work that she's done. And if you want to look into her more, I highly recommend looking her up. Look up Mission Blue. But the serendipity is that the guy on the right is a friend of mine, Owen, and we were just diving together. I was actually helping him get his advanced certification because he told me he was going on some trip. And I was like, yeah, like I'll certify you easy. It's something we were doing privately and just having fun diving together. Nothing work related or anything. And we were talking over lunch, and he happened to mention that this trip he's going on is with Sylvia Earle. That's why he had to get this dive certification, because he's going to do a live aboard, which means living on a ship and diving every day with her. And I couldn't help but freak out and was just like, oh my gosh, she's my hero. That's amazing that you're going on this trip with her. Like, wow, that's so cool you get to do that. And we just kind of left it at that, and I never thought about it again. And then a few weeks later, he calls me up randomly and was like, hey, you got plans tonight? And I was like, nope, I don't have any plans. And he's like, well, do you want to come to dinner? I'm having dinner with Sylvia Earle tonight.
What?
And I was like, absolutely, I would love to come to dinner with you and Sylvia Earle. And I never thought I'd get the chance to meet her. I've had friends that have run into her at conferences, gotten a photo with her, or her to sign their book or something like that, because she's sort of a celebrity in my field of work. And but to be able to be invited to dinner with her and have such intimate time with her was a really special thing. I was sitting next to her the whole time and just got to talk for hours about her work, the things that she's done and things she's working on now. She really is still to this day, she is working her butt off for marine conservation. And I am exhausted just hearing about her schedule, but this woman doesn't stop. And it felt like serendipity, because it wasn't some work thing. It wasn't at a conference. It was just this random conversation with a friend that I was diving with that led to this door opening. And from there, she invited me to attend this conference with her. And I just spent a few days with her and other people too, and just being really inspired by her and her life work. And it came at a time where I really needed that inspiration. So it was sort of the kick in the pants of like, all right, I know that this is what I'm on this planet to do, is marine conservation. And I just met my hero, and I know I have more clarity now than ever of what my direction and path is. And I firmly believe that the things we love and that are put on our heart are there for a reason and shouldn't be ignored. And so the fact that I've always had this passion for marine conservation, it's not something I'm ever going to question or ignore. It's there for a reason, and it's what I want to dedicate my life to. And yeah, sometimes it's just really nice to get that clarity and know, like, I'm on the right path, and this is where I'm supposed to be.
You really caught my attention when you mentioned this to me in our discussions. So normally when I'm researching this podcast, I try to find someone in history that has made compelling or profound statements, and I had one ready to go. But our conversation, you said something that's just as profound as anyone's going to say. When you talk about pursuing your passions and this serendipitous moment where you got to meet your childhood hero, and you said this to me, continue to pursue your passions because you never know what future opportunities will come to you. And we talk on this podcast all the time about pursuing your best life. Getting busy living is that in a nutshell. So it doesn't matter what happens to you that's negative, focus on the positives. The universe only knows absolute value. So if you focus on your negatives, the universe is going to give you more of the negatives. But if you focus on the things you're passionate about that are positive, the universe will provide those things for you. And so I found a little bit of serendipity when I found this clip of her.
Urgency, and also a recognition that while it's not good enough for a handful of scientists to understand what's happening, they have to get that information in the minds and hearts of the people who are making decisions, the politicians, the moms and dads, the teachers, the kids, everybody, because we are all in this together.
We say that we are all in this together. That's something I've been saying for a long time now. And when I was doing research and I found her say that right at a moment where she's talking about raising awareness and she's talking about getting politicians involved. And we are getting ready to have a podcast where we want to raise awareness. So for her to say all that, and then for you to mention serendipity that recently, to me, it just is all coming together.
I love that. Oh, I get chicken skin every time I hear her talk. She's so inspiring. So thank you for highlighting her. She deserves it.
Yeah. Chicken skin. So it looks like we've got some other people that are chiming in. And we I guess, that's a pretty common word. We got to get you to say that again one more time for the people in the back.
All right, I'll break it down. The word is Papa Hanau Mokua Kea. So it's Papa Hanau Mokua Kea. And this is the nonprofit I work for. So I guess we can bring it back full circle because I don't think I finished explaining what it is I do and where I work. But
right.
Yeah, so I work for this nonprofit, PMDP, Papa Hanau Mokua Kea Marine Debris Project. Just rolls off the tongue. And we go up into Papa Hanau Mokua Kea, which is a marine national monument. So it's a protected proposed wilderness area. And that means there's no fishing allowed there. It's pretty pristine, other than the fact that thousands of pounds of marine debris wash up there regularly. So we make the trek up there several times a year. We're leaving August 3rd, actually. We live on a ship and we do large scale marine debris removal. And most of it is in water. So you can see from this picture right here as you're scrolling, the number is right there, actually. This is great. 115,000 pounds on average annually accumulate in Papa Hanau Mokua Kea just on the reefs alone. And We're just talking about derelict fishing gear, or ghost nets is what they're called.
Can you explain how that large scale removal is done?
Yeah, so we live on the ship, and then these small Zodiacs are deployed every day, which are those little black inflatable boats. So it gets craned into the water. We navigate through reefs, and we do swim surveys. So it's actually pretty, not very technical. We do swim surveys where we're swimming along the reefs until we find one of those giant nets. And then you could see in that photo, there was a diver. So once we find a huge net, we usually have 2 to 3 divers in at a time on one particular net. And we take turns breath hold diving, so free diving, which I told you is a passion of mine, to sit there and cut and remove the net. And we go one up, one down. So one person goes down, they're cutting the net off of the coral, and the other person's watching them. And then we just keep doing that until the net is free from the reef. And then after it's free from the reef, then we pull it up to the boat, because usually it's, maybe 15 feet underwater. And then from there, we have to pull the net into the boat. This is our Instagram page. Yeah, there's a picture of us pulling a net into the boat. And I don't know how heavy that looks to you, but that's probably like an 800,000 pound net would be my guess.
Wow.
Yeah, so we have 4 different boats that go out every day with teams of 4. So our entire team is 16 people, and we break it up into 4 groups of 4, 4 on each boat. And each boat typically comes in with around 2,000 to 3,000 pounds a day. So on average, we're bringing in, like, our goal is 10,000 pounds a day. And while we're up there, that's actually me cutting a net. And yeah, so the goal is about 10,000 pounds a day. We go up there for 30 days at a time, and we're hopping from one island to the next, and we're making our way up the chain in Papahanaumokuakea, because like I said, it's all these different islands and reef systems.
You know, I love to look at this sort of thing with the eyes of maybe someone who is 8 or 9 years old, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Thinking, yeah, like maybe this is something I might want to do with my life. And I think that these pictures are so inspiring. And you know what I really love within them is this must foster an incredible sense of community. Being with these people for 30 days at a time out in the middle of the ocean doing this hard work.
Yes.
It must be like family, yeah?
Yeah, I joke that it kind of feels like summer camp in a way, because it's just this immensely bonding thing. And these people truly do become like your family. And yeah, there's our team right there. And I just love every single one of them. We wouldn't be able to we remove on average about 200,000 pounds a year. That's between 2 different 30-day missions. We wouldn't be able to do that without the teamwork that we all have with each other. And I don't know how to explain it. It's just this really bonding thing where you really rely on each other, and not just to get the work done, but it is inherently can be a little bit dangerous and sometimes sketchy, or there's a lot of risks that could exist. But because of the trust that we've built in one another, we're always looking out for each other. We're always just really trying to, we love each other. We want to keep each other safe. We want to keep each other doing our best work. That's actually one of the most special parts of the job for me is the connection with the people. Yeah.
That's really wonderful.
Yeah.
Did you know when you were a child that this could be an actual job or career? Or it was just a passion at that time? Or did you know that this is something you could do as an adult?
Yeah, that's such a good question. As a child, no, I didn't know it could be this good. I didn't know it could be what it's become. But I always knew I wanted to work with trash. And it's funny because it felt like there were these 2 parallel lines running for me, where I had this passion for marine debris. And then I also had this passion for diving that came up as a child. I've been free diving since I was little. My mom's a diver. She got me into diving. Always have just been obsessed with diving. And it started as free diving, and then I got scuba certified, and obviously became an instructor at some point, and just have spent every second I possibly can diving. And so I've had these 2 parallel lines, these 2 different passions. And I always knew, like, yeah, in your dream life, you would be able to combine your passions. But when I graduated with my master's degree, I was like, all right, what would my dream job look like? My dream job would be I still get to work with marine debris, and I get to combine that with my passion for diving. And I, at the time, was like, I don't know if that job exists. Like, I don't know what that would look like. But I think there's something to be said about getting specific with what you want your dreams to be. And I've always kind of had in my mind, like a vision of what my dream life would look like. And just getting specific with what that dream life is has been it's guided me. And somehow I've made it happen. And I didn't know that was possible. But I think like I was saying before, and that quote you put up on the screen is like, if you just continue to follow your passions with absolute, like, give it everything you've got, it's unbelievable the kinds of things that can happen to you. And yeah, I never thought I'd be in this position where I get to do this kind of work. And with these people, yeah.
I always try to tell the young people that just, follow your excitement, because you don't know what kind of jobs there are out there. And there are so many different kinds of jobs. You could never guess what some people are getting paid to do. So just follow your excitement and see where it takes you. And it might seem silly or irresponsible to adults who say, well, the only path forward is in finance or as a lawyer or whatever. But there are so many careers out there that you couldn't possibly guess were actually careers.
Yeah,
I
I
think
know.
this is one of them.
And if it doesn't exist yet, you can always make it exist.
Amen.
You know, the one that creates it.
Yeah.
Amen.
So I definitely feel very blessed. To be able to work in conservation and dedicate my life to conservation is something I'll never take for granted. It's an honor to be able to work for the planet every day and protect what I love so much. And like we said, nature gives us so much. And so to be able to, have that relationship with nature where it provides for me, so I'm going to try and take care of it. There's nothing better to me to be able to feel that kind of connection to the land, to the sea. Yeah.
Wow.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Wow, well, I told you that it was going to fly by. And I know that. I mean, I've got so many questions, and we've had a couple guests that have made return appearances, and we would love to have you back on. It's been such a wonderful ride, and I mean, there's just so much more to talk about, and so thank you, Lauren, for sharing your story with us. I can't believe it's already been an hour. Can you believe it?
I know, that's why.
I have been vegging out on these two Instagram pages for the past couple of weeks, and I'm really just overjoyed about the whole thing. So thank you really so much for sharing your story with us. It's been amazing.
Thank you so much for having me. Any opportunity I have to talk about these things that I'm passionate about is I will definitely take it. And so thank you for the platform to do it. I leave in, I think it's like 2 weeks now, August 3rd, to go out to sea, and I'll be gone for 2 months. I'll be back mid-October. So, maybe I would recommend, if it's something you're interested in, you can follow us on PMDP Hawaii on our Instagram page, and there'll be updates about everything that we're doing while we're out at sea, how much debris we've been able to remove, and just kind of what a day in the life looks like while we're out there. Our Instagram gets pretty fun when we're out at sea because you get to see a snippet of our lives.
I can only imagine.
Yeah. So that's our Instagram right there. And I was telling y'all this before the show started, but every single team member that I get the opportunity to work with is just so cool. And so there's 15, 16 other people that are way cooler than I am and have amazing stories too. And so hopefully you can follow along and learn more about all the work that everyone's doing.
Yeah, I just followed it right now.
Yay.
I'm excited to see what you do. This is amazing.
Thank you so much.
It really has been amazing. We're going to work it out to get you back on. Thank you. Seriously, on behalf of everyone on this planet, thank you. And go back to your team. Tell them we appreciate them and keep up the good work. I mean, wow, what an inspiration. I mean, we talk to people all the time about not giving up on your dreams and continuing to pursue your passions no matter how life comes to you. And you are just an inspiration. You're a model of that message. So thank you again. And so if you guys got anything, thanks everyone to our audience for tuning in. If you got any parting shots, anything else you'd like to say to Lauren on the way out, now's your opportunity. What do you think, D-Rex? I mean, where does this stand in as far as the hierarchy of our favorite guests? I mean, for me, she's really up there.
You have been fascinating. You've been absolutely fascinating and inspiring. And the fact that you are able to bring such positivity and hope to something that when people don't know anything about it, there's so much fear and unknown surrounding it. To see that you do have hope and you're working tirelessly toward fixing this, it gives me hope.
Well, thank you both so much. You're very kind, and I appreciate the platform to be able to share what I love. So thank you for having me. It's been an honor.
Our people are chiming in. Kiro's like, that's awesome. Thank you. As you know, Scooty Wells talking about unbelievable episode. Keep kicking ass, Lauren. Thanks again, Scooty Wells, for putting us in touch with this hero. And Truman, Truman is my guy. He's the guy that took me to the Grand Canyon last week and has taken me there more than once. And he's been my key to adventure in my current condition. So glad to have you tuning in, Truman. Thanks for chiming in. And so look, I appreciate both of you. Thank you for taking your time to come and help me put this show on. Thank you to everybody in the comments for tuning in. I just want to remind you guys that we do this every Thursday. We do it the third Thursday of every month. So next month, we got part 4 of 10 things we should never take for granted. So tune in at 9 Eastern on our Get Busy Living podcast YouTube channel for part 4, the third Thursday of the month in August. And right after that, I got something to announce for the next episode. We're going to bring my man Schaefer back on next month. So
awesome.
if you guys love him as much as we do, please don't miss it. And as we tune on out, any parting shots you girls want to say, now's your chance.
Well, one might say that we're all in this together.
Absolutely.
There we go. I love
Always
that.
remember, no matter the weather, whether
Yeah.
sunshine or rain, there's no joy without pain. Always remember, we're all in this together.
We're all in
Can I
this
get a
together.
hell yeah?
Hell yeah.
See it when you see me, but you gotta believe me.